Well, welcome here at the place for more connections and more answers, as always, on Tuesday, 12 o'clock. You know, if you haven't, if it's the first time you have been here on with me on the place, just don't forget to follow or subscribe with me. And today we're going to talk about, are you using your unique abilities to change today's crisis? It is episode 201 of Tell the Everyday Life Lesson podcast. And, this topic could easily fall under all five life energies if you want to, right? And just as a reminder for you, the five life energies that we have are physical energy, mental energy, creative energy, and manifestation energy, and last but not least, the divine energy. Yeah, are you using your unique abilities to change today's crisis? Well, if you follow the news, and I'm sure you do, it's hard not to actually in today's environment. Is what's going on for me? I'm living in Dallas, but I'm feel very connected to it. It's because I'm originally from the Netherlands, as most of you people know, is the war in Ukraine between Russia and Ukraine. And strange as that may sound, right? The first days that these things happen, you get a lot of news around it. You follow it every minute if you can. And then I don't know if that's a human thing, but even after a week or something, for a lot of people, following that news almost minute by minute, that becomes maybe every hour, and then maybe it becomes once a day or twice a day, unless you are very connected to either Ukraine or Russia. If you have family over there, personal friends of me have their parents there. Um, Close family there. So maybe if you're in that situation, then you follow it more closely, and even you have in contact directly with the people at home if Ukraine is your home. Um, but for most people, like myself, it's sometimes we just switch back to our daily things. And I know when the war started, the day after that, I had to teach some dance classes, and I thought, like, man, you know, what a trivial thing to do. Is it, worth it? Should we do this? Should we all stop doing what we need to do? And I talked about it on the place last week as well. Is, well, maybe it's a good thing. Maybe, I give people some what is that, some less worries for at least an hour in a dance lesson, and maybe it's a good thing to do. And actually it happened to be so. It happened to be so that some people reacted to me like, there's so much things going on in the world. Like, first we had COVID, and we, by the way, we still have COVID. It's not going away because we have a war now somewhere in another place in the world. um, but now we have war, and just to have maybe an hour or maybe 1.5 hour of taking dance lessons is maybe a trivial thing to do nowadays, but it also takes our worries away. And talking about worries, it's something I talked about last week, right? Is there time now when people are so many, there's so many bad things going in people's lives, and they go through tremendous ordeals? Is there time for us to worry about our own sorrows? Should we should we should we think about these things, right? And yes, I said yes. Yeah, I said yes. There is definitely worries about people who are in mental health care, that the rise of people who coming in mental problems because of the things that are going on in the world will be rising very fast, that number. And so so yeah, I said last week, we definitely need to take care of ourselves and other people who are, getting into mental problems because of what's going on in the world. Even if it doesn't affect them directly, there might be a tendency. Yeah, really, you should now be worried about yourself. Well, there are so many people in in dire around the world, yes, I think we should do that too, right? Is for us to keep ourselves healthy and strong is probably one of the ways we can support people, even if we don't know them, right? Just by, taking care of ourselves. Um, so that led me actually to think about it. Are there other ways to help people that we, across the world? And then, I have kind of a hate love relationship with social media. Probably you all know that too, right? By listening to the place so often. But yeah, I do. I think there's a lot of good in social media, and there's a lot of bad about social media too. If people, post on social media that they're taking a bath today, I'm not sure if I'm really interested in knowing that. But anyhow, that's what it is. But I see so many wonderful messages in people doing small things. Well, I think small things can be big things in how to help people in Ukraine and support even the people in Russia when they are protesting against war, as best as they can. By the way, Russia actually blocked Facebook because I think they don't want the world to see that there are many protesters against the war in Russia as well. So it's not so, they might want to appear it that the whole country is behind the war in Ukraine, but it never is the case. So I'm sure there are a lot of people are behind their president as well. Rightfully or wrongfully so, but luckily, I think that's my point of view. There are a lot of people who have the courage to stand up against the war in Russia. Russia blocked Facebook for that, um, and other social media, so we see very little on Facebook about that part of the news. What we do see is actually is a lot of people who are trying to help. People are coming from the Ukraine into or coming from Ukraine into Europe, Finland, Poland, even further than that, and giving them a home, shelter, or anything else. People are opening their personal homes for that. I saw that the Dutch, and it's only because I'm Dutch, so I see a little bit more Dutch news. I saw that a dance organization opened the hall where we have one of the bigger dance competitions in the Netherlands for Ukrainian refugees as well. I saw a dancer, a Finnish dancer, just driving to the border and then picking up Ukrainian refugees as well. Whether these things are all true, but I think the intent is there. I saw people trying to collect money to do that. So many people are doing things maybe because they're very close to the countries that are involved, maybe for personal reasons. But the majority of the people just, read the news and maybe just, stand in awe and in shock. Maybe have some judgment either whether their president, in my case, that would be Biden, is doing the right or the wrong things. Maybe people are really, upset because gas prices are rising. And if you think about it and you know something about economics, it's actually, there's no real reason to do that. It is not like, when the sunshine, the earth warms up, right? There's nothing we can do about that. That's a natural process. There is someone or there's a group of people who still have to decide that our gas prices have to rise because there is a crisis, and that is because we want to keep the margins the same or whatever that is. So, you can have your judgment over that as well. I have mine. I think, there's enough to do. Is the gas price something we need to be worried about nowadays? Now, there are so many people in dire. I've said that before. Maybe not. Maybe we should just let it go. Or maybe that's something we should be concerned about as well. Anyhow, you can have all your opinion about what your president or what your government is doing to support either what country is in. I hope it is I hope it's Ukraine, of course, but to do that, but. That comes, of course, what can we do ourselves? And often in those situations, we might think we are completely powerless, right? And every actions that I take today, will it have a real impact on the situation in Ukraine? Um, or for that matter, a few months ago, the situation with COVID. Well, I think there is always there's always something you can do. That's just me. I'm just a positive person. I'm sorry, and I think there's always something you can do. And a year ago or something, I did something like this on the place as well, and I had a little exercise for you, and I want you to remember that exercise. And if you don't, then I'll give it to you right now, right? So I want you to get a piece of paper, right? Do it right now, and and write on that piece of paper what you think is wrong about the world. Well, now that's easy, right? So we're talking about the crisis today, so write that down, right? So then take another piece of paper or flip it around, whatever you want, and then just write down one or two lines what you think you are really good at, right? What is your your ability, your unique ability, if you want to, and don't think so far about it. It could be maybe cooking a meal, or I don't know. I always think that I'm good at talking in front of a microphone, so that's what I would write down. And anything you do, maybe you are really good at teaching someone else how to dance the salsa or something like that, right? Whatever it is, write it down, and then I give you a minute or two to really think about to connect those two things, right? What is it that I can do with the abilities that I have, for instance, teaching dance, that could actually help in the current situation? Now, if I'm a dance teacher, which I am in this case, I don't think it makes a lot of sense for me to go into a plane and go to the Ukraine and offer my dance skills to them. I don't think that helps at all, right? But what does help is that there are a lot of people maybe now worried, and you give them maybe that hour that I gave already as an example of a little bit of entertainment and a little bit of a way to escape from the day-to-day worries. So, is that a big help? I don't know, but if a lot of people do that, it might be, right. There are other people around you who are maybe in big worries. You might be able to talk to them, right? Maybe you have a stronger opinion than that, and you want to be very vocal of what you believe your government needs to do to support Ukraine or any other situation in the world, right? And you organize a rally for that, right? Or to protest march and stuff like that. Although I grew up in the 60s, I'm not big like that, but I do know that has some influence as well. And I saw here recently in Dallas that there were quite a big group of people who actually there were two different rallies, and it was very well attended. And it gets to the news and it gets attention from hopefully local and national politicians, that they can see how people want to support them. So that's one way. There are many ways how what you can do, and you don't always have to agree with them. Like I say, I'm not a person that typically goes on the street and yell things in what I believe. Maybe I should, and I know that in the time that I grew up in the 60s, when we had big rallies against nuclear weapons and stuff like that, so people almost got angry if you would not walk with them, right? But that doesn't mean that you don't agree with them. It's just a way that you express the way you support a cause in a different way. Plus, we don't always have to support the same cause, right? We live in a democratic country, so just the fact that you can be heard in any opinion that you have, as long as you don't hurt someone, and that is allowed, is something that we still need to defend. That's actually what we are trying to defend nowadays as well. So there are many things that you do and that you can do, and maybe you think what I do has no use. First of all, you can always donate money, right? There are, of course, now many organizations around the world that are trying to do give money and send, food, maybe other things to the countries that are in dire. And so giving money is always one thing that you can do. Some people say, yeah, that's just buying off your soul, and but you can do that if you are we all probably could shave off a little bit of money to send that to a good cause. So that's one thing that is kind of obvious to do. If you feel you are in a leadership position, and I've seen many leaders standing up, maybe you want to organize, you know, how to raise money and where it goes to. Maybe you want to organize other things. If you feel you are strong in leadership and you believe in rallies, then maybe you organize a rally. If you are closer to the Ukraine and you are a leader and you are good in organizing, maybe you want to, organize a food drive. I don't know what you can do, but the possibilities are almost endless, right? There's another thing. There's a lot of religious talk, of course, as well, and they go, all kind of ways. They could be crazy in someone's opinion, and it could be just realistic in someone's opinion. Let me call out one of the crazy ones that I saw. Of course, there is a lot of people going, well, maybe not a lot, but there are at least people out there now calling this is the end of days. The signs are very clear. The barbarians from the north are going to slay us in the holy country, and the barbarians from the north should be then be the Russians. Well, clearly I am not one of the people who believe that, but if you believe that, more kudos to you. But be a little bit careful for that, because Russians, to call them barbarians from the north, are also people, and I believe, I don't know the number, but let's hopefully the majority is actually also very against what's going on in their home country and their neighbor country as well. So, but coming back to religions and faith, there is a lot of good in there too, right? There are a lot of churches now, by the way. I'm not talking about the Catholic Church alone, right? If I talk from an American perspective about church, we talk way more than only the Catholic Church. But a lot of churches doing really good things. I only have to look at a church here in my neighborhood. They are offering a lot of help, and that is financial support and also other support to the people who are in need today to do that. So if you don't know anything to do, you can always go and volunteer in your church. So that's the second thing you can do. There are many organizations, by the way, you can now volunteer for, and to give and lend a hand and give your time to support people. That might not have a direct impact, but it certainly has an indirect impact, right? Talking a little bit more about faith and spirituality, which is in my case the fifth life energy. In a lot of cases, we always ask, can you pray for my fill in the dot because he or she is sick or is in help? A lot of people believe that helps, right? So if you are one of those people, then do that, right? Pray by yourself, or even organize a prayer session or meditation sessions where you come together. Now, many people might think that has no effect. I don't know whether its effect has effect or not. At least I don't know that by proof, but a lot of people believe that. So I think you can do that as well. And again, if you're a leader, you might be willing to organize one of these things. So there are, a way more things that you can do to do that, right? Um, if you have skill in mentorship and coaching ships, then this is also maybe a time to step up. You only have to ask around of people who are in need for some mentoring in how to deal with these situations. I personally had at least a few phone calls from people who said, I don't know how to deal with the fear that I have at this moment. Not saying that those people are immediately in mental troubles, right? Getting depressed or have anxiety, maybe a heightened level of anxiety, but they surely could need some mentoring. And so you could organize maybe some group talks where you can help the people stay positive. Now, sound maybe like a soft thing, but I think in the long term that could have a really good effect. I already talked about volunteering your services, whatever you is that you have. I saw people in certain areas doing that, or big corporations actually they stopped doing, they're giving their service to, in this case, Russia. So does that always help? Yeah, I mean, of course, it definitely gives a signal. Does it always affect the people who are really, really responsible for what's going on in the world? That is, of course, a big question, whether that's the case. But let's hopefully that the boycott that we do, the sanctions as they are called, that they are helpful for that. I see the big car brands stopping selling cars to Russia. Google, Facebook, all those big countries stopped giving service to the countries that they have. I'm not sure if all the normal Russian people are helped by that, but at least it's part of the sanctions that we have. Um, then, if you are working for a corporate organization, it's most likely, if you work for a global corporate organizations, that there are initiatives to support Ukraine and the Ukrainian people. So it served you very well, by the way, or better yet, it serves it served your Ukrainian people very well. If you go and ask to your HR department, if you haven't heard of it yet, if there is such an initiative, and if you are one of the managers or directors and there is no such initiative, you might as well start something like that. I used to work for a big corporate organization, and that organization was very strong in doing things like this. And it's very likely that this company, I haven't asked it, by the way, um, did start something in that direction as well. And then they are always looking for volunteers and your service to support that initiative, right? Um, so that's definitely what I want to do. So I mentioned about 7 to 8 things easily what you could do, and like I said, the list is endless in this perspective. What you personally could do, although it doesn't feel like it. The reason why I say that as well has also to do with your mental health, right? A lot of what we talk about in the place is about mental health and is about overcoming ordeals that you have been through in your life. One of the things that I write about, it's not only about overcoming the ordeals that you have been through in your life, but sometimes it's also preventing yourself with seeing things as an ordeal, and where you can some sort of, and I'm sorry for using the wrong words here, but to weapon yourself to the things that are might coming to you, and that is making sure that you have a stronger mentality, so to speak, when we go through this in the world, right? So training yourself and looking for some mental practices to keep yourself stronger and going through this crisis, which is also a mental crisis, could help not only you but also the people around you. Does that make any sense? So I had a trail of thought. I kind of a train of thought. I kind of lost it while I was I was rambling about that. Um, but the thing that I want to say is look around you and how you gee, I forgot about what I wanted to say as a concluding remark of the place today. Um, yeah. So thinking about what you can do, yes, that's now I'm back on track, right? Um, the reason why I started to do this is literally offer at least some suggestion how you can use your abilities to do something about the situation today. Very often not directly, right? But for sure indirectly, there's a lot that you can do. But one of the biggest causes of mental issues is that we feel hopeless and powerless in situations, right? By now, you know that I wrote a book on the topic of abuse. And what you hear back from people who are abused is that they, in their abusive situation, felt hopeless and powerless, which in the end cause only a lot of mental problems for the victim in this case. So that's the feeling that you might have right now. We typically go around in a few ways with that hopeless or that powerless feeling. One of the most common thing to do is detach yourself from the problem at all, right? Thinking about, well, I cannot do anything about it anyhow. I'm just going back to do my daily things. And maybe, I follow the news, but I try to not take too much worry on me. It's a tactic and it works, right? But it's maybe not the right thing to do. Another thing to do is just get stuck into that feeling of powerless and hopefulness and only feel the burden and don't do anything about it. A really good remedy of it is to come in action. It actually almost always is, right? Come in action. And it doesn't have to be that you pick up, your weapons and fly to the Ukraine. And if you want to do that, you probably can do that too nowadays. I saw, veterans doing that as well. Kudos to them. And but doesn't always have to be like that. If you put your mind to something that is there something that I truly can do, and I gave you a couple of examples: donating money, offer your time, taking initiative maybe in your corporate organization. Um, it helps a lot of people around you. It helps the cause, but it also helps you to overcome that feeling of being powerless and hopefulness. So that is how we together as human beings probably could make a positive change to a very negative situation. Now, I'm only one person. Sometimes I feel like a lonely person calling in the desert. But I'm sure there are a lot of other podcasters giving similar messages as well. So that's maybe our way of trying to move the world into a different direction. Not sure it helps, but if it does, just let me know. If you like, I saw some people here on Facebook. If you like what I said here, always try to keep supporting maybe this podcast too, and I will try to go back as I can to other topics in general way. But if I can connect them to today's situations, then I always will do that. Um, so subscribe me on my new YouTube channel. Follow me on Facebook if you want to. Um, Having said that, then I'll hope to see you back with another episode of The Place every week here in at 12 o'clock in Central American time or 7 o'clock in most European countries' times. I wish all the people in Ukraine who are connected to it a lot of strength. Um, they are in our thoughts and prayers, of course, and we'll see you back with another episode of The Place. This was Jean. Bye bye.